With the NBA lottery just concluding, teams that aren't the Spurs are now in prospect evaluation mode. There's a few guys at the top end of the lottery, namely Scoot, Miller, and the Thompsons, that are routinely ranked as going immediately after the number one selection. After them, no one knows. There's a mix of both forwards and guards that are vying for a chance to be drafted as early as possible. Cam Whitmore is right near the front of that pack. As a really young and explosive player, he spent 1 year at a Villanova team that, while unsuccessful in the win column, gave Whitmore the chance to showcase his skills. So, what did he show us at Villanova? Should he be more highly regarded at the top end of this draft class? Let's find out. Welcome back to Hoop Hierarchy. This is KC. So, Cam grew up in Maryland in a military family, as his dad was a longtime member of the Air Force National Guard. Basketball is in his family history as well, as his cousin, Bob Whitmore, was a 19 points per game scorer for Notre Dame and is in their Ring of Honor. He fell in love with basketball at age 5, and the combination of his family's love for basketball and dedicated mentality is, in my opinion, how Whitmore has managed to get to where he is today. In his high school career for Archbishop Spalding, he took some time to get going as he missed his freshman season with injury. However, when he finally got fully back into the lineup for good, he hit the ground running. In his senior year, he progressed to the point of averaging 21 and 10, becoming the Maryland Boys Basketball Player of the Year, a McDonald's All-American, and contributing heavily to the U.S. FIBA Under-18 team, being their MVP in the 2022 Americas Championship. He made his way to Villanova as a 5-star recruit, and for them, while not showing off anything absurd numbers-wise, did show flashes of greatness on numerous occasions, including a season high of 26 points at Xavier. So, let's get into some of the traits that he's flashed that are going to make or break how far he goes in the league. So firstly on his shooting, Whitmore looks like an okay but not phenomenal shooter as of now. Not his best trait, but I see some nice potential here. His shot itself is a slower release, which isn't ideal when it comes to beating closeouts, but at the same time, the shot looks good. Form and release are both smooth, and I can easily see growth as a possibility due to his sound mechanics. He is not limited to set shots because as a whole, he shot 34% for 3 on the season, and around 30% on off the dribble threes. So, like I said, nothing spectacular, but I like that he had the confidence to pull out some of the moves that he made to open up a shot for himself. Crossovers, step backs, pull-up threes, etc. All things you want to see a high-level scorer develop at the pro level, and his shot coming along even further from here is going to be key for him to reach his highest potential at the professional level. So when it comes to athleticism, Cam is explosive in the most efficient way, if that makes sense. When he needs to get to the rim, he can get there with speed and or quickness, and throws down some of the more impressive dunks I saw in the college game all year. For example, the self-putback on Penn was just a ridiculous bounce to miss that shot, then get back up to the rim almost immediately to put it in. His vertical is rumored to be around 44 inches, and the game film realistically backs that up. He is really strong as well. To me, this part's huge because a lot of the times the really athletic, bouncy type players are skinny or kind of weaker as well. So even with that bounce, a defender just needs to knock them off balance and they can't effectively use that explosiveness to get up to the rim. Whitmore is strong enough that he can take his hits and go up and finish over contact. This is ideal for the potential of his game to translate to the pros, as obviously the defenders he's going to face are going to be even stronger than the defenders at the college level. So in finishing, this is a part of his game that really pairs well with his athleticism. In my opinion, those two in tandem are Whitmore's key strengths coming into the league. With the athleticism he has, he possesses all the physical tools necessary for finishing, but just the physical tools doesn't cut it. He has to be able to actually finish on his drives, which of course he does. He likes to take it left from what I've seen, but his finishing with both hands has really impressed me as well. Truthfully, he is a complete force getting to the rim. I grade him right at the top of the whole class alongside Scoot when it comes to getting to the rim and finishing. Yes, even over the Thompsons. I think the plethora of moves he has in his bag, good interior footwork, along with the ability to finish with strength is really, really impressive. So this one's a little different, offensive versatility. So the reason I have factored in the versatility aspect of his game here is because I think it is quite notable that he works really well both on and off the ball. One of the reasons he's so good at getting to the rim is the fact that he's both a really solid on-ball driver and off-ball cutter at the same time. He does a great job of being aware at all times, keeping an eye on when his defender is out of position, and he often takes advantage of that. Hopefully Whitmore gets picked up by a team that has an elite point guard in the mid-lottery, like the Pistons or the Pacers, so he can really pair well with a great playmaker and have this open up this aspect of his game. Another quick note that factors into his versatility is his inside-out game. We've talked enough about his shooting and driving, but just the fact in general that he can do both at a pretty reasonable level, even as such a young player, gives teams a great offensive base to build on. Creates a high ceiling prospect on the offensive end as a result. So on playmaking, this is one key make or break area in his game that I feel like has to improve if he wants to have the ball in his hands more often at the pro level. While I don't believe Whitmore's strength is ever going to be a creator for others, I do believe that he has to be at the very least acceptable at it. As of now, this is the weakest factor in his offensive game. I mentioned earlier how good he was at getting to the rim. This is all true. However, in the situations where he should hypothetically be kicking the ball out to others for a better shot, he sometimes gets tunnel vision and forces the issue, causing way more turnovers than necessary. Sometimes it's decision making, sometimes he just throws errant passes. He has the potential to get to a passable level here, but it's going to take some work with the right coaching staff. So on the defensive end, he's by no means an elite defender. I believe the other forwards in this draft range, namely Osar, Hendricks, and Jarace Walker, are all better defenders than Whitmore by a pretty good margin. He has shown some decent flashes, like in a one-on-one scenario, he can stay in front of guys. He's got some active hands on the defensive end, stays in passing lanes, does a good job anticipating to get a quick steal and take off on the fast break. Off ball, however, is kind of where he struggles a bit. He has the tendency to overhelp and get himself out of position on occasion. He gets his eyes locked on the ball handler and his guy back cuts him way too often. His closeouts are also pretty poor in general. He kind of just runs at the offensive player. Doesn't do any sort of like stutter step to close out. He just kind of runs at them and then they blow by him. So this to me is pretty coachable. This is kind of a fundamental, so to speak, that's taught. So like I said, pretty coachable as of now. Defense in general is an area he needs to work on. So when it comes to making a comparison for Whitmore, I see a lot of similarities to Miles Bridges in his game, just so I make it totally clear that this is no way comparison of their personal lives, and I am sure Whitmore is a very nice and respectful young man. But their game is so similar that I felt as though this is the best comparison for him. Not an original comparison, as I've seen it been made before, but it just seems like the obvious place to go with it. I think he has a shot to be better on the ball than Bridges, even if both have some ball security struggles coming in. They both have some great vertical athleticism and strength to go with it and can get to the rim really well. Bridges also projected as a decent but raw shooter coming in before improving his three-point efficiency over the years. I think it's possible that Whitmore starts out his career similarly to Bridges as well. Growing pains year one, looking okay, but not statistically phenomenal by any means, before showing in his next year some signs, and then finally breaking out and looking like a borderline all-star year 3 if teams are patient with him. So, in conclusion, if you couldn't tell, I am big on Cam Whitmore's value for where he's currently being mocked in drafts. While there are a couple of reasonable criticisms, namely his tendency to get tunnel vision on offense and defense, and just the general fact that he is a more of a scorer as opposed to a well-rounded prospect, I think his strengths greatly outnumber his weaknesses. Like I mentioned early in his career, whatever team that drafts him is almost certainly going to want him starting out in the shot maker, play finisher type role, because that's what he does well at this time. For him to be a truly elite offensive player, he's going to have to sharpen up his handle to a degree, and he's going to have to get better at picking his spots. I think not trying to force the issue on the offensive end. Taking all that into consideration, though, I think he's one of the best value picks in the mid-lottery, and out of the general lot of guys that are being mocked after Wemby, Scoot, and Miller, I have Whitmore right at the top of that. I could realistically see him going in the 4 to 8 range, and would be a fine pick in that range as well. The all-star potential is real. I think at the very least he is going to be fun to watch as a rookie and will hopefully show signs of improvement in his areas of weakness in his first pro year. But with that, I come to the conclusion of this video. If you stuck around here to the end, I always appreciate it. As always, you guys have really been supporting the other player profiles in this series, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one as well. I think all of these lottery prospects are worth diving into so we can be better educated on the type of players we're looking at, whether it be pre-draft to figure out what player you want your team to take the most, or post-draft to see what kind of prospect your franchise is going to have moving forward. So with that being said, like and subscribe if you haven't. Whether you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments, and if you have any additional ideas for videos, let me know down in the comments as well. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed.